What's up, y'all? It's Project Photography back with another video, and today, before we get started, make sure to follow all of my socials down in the description bar below. But today we are in the mountains again, and I've actually done a video here before. It was the Nikon Z50, I think, with the 50 to 250. I forget how amazing this view is. I mean, just take a look at this for a second. I mean, this is just pure mountain range beauty right here. I mean, it's unfiltered. There's nothing in the line of sight that can kind of construe anything. And it's just this absolutely gorgeous view. And I think it's a perfect place to actually put the Nikon Z 135mm f1.8s Plena through its paces. But I think this is like the ideal scenario to use a lens like this. Mainly because we have a lot of mountain peaks over here. And I think they make really nice subject matter for a telephoto lens like the Plena. And so it'll be interesting to see what a prime telephoto lens like this can deliver in such a beautiful mountain range. And I think more than anything, what I'll mainly be looking at here today is the focal length. I really want to see what a 135 looks like, prime at least, in a scenario like this. More traditional style landscape photography where I have my tripod, got my different filters, we're going to see what kind of images we can get. And I have no doubt in my mind we're going to get amazing images with this. And luckily for me, we have plenty of time to actually go around and find the right location that we want to go to for sunset. So yeah, guys, let's drive around and take a look and see what we have. I'm not going to be doing any hiking. Doesn't make sense in this context. I think we can get some really great shots here just by driving around. All right, so I think I figured out what the plan is and what I'm going to be able to do. I'm going to be using the 135 on the Z30 for the most part, especially when we get those like one-off shots. This will be the camera for that. The main reason is we have a crop sensor in here, so this actually turns the 135 into closer to a 200mm. So I think it'll actually be really interesting to see what that can do for something like this. But for example, if I'm going to be shooting the panoramas, definitely going to be able to use my Z6 for that. So I think that's what the vibe is for this shoot in particular. If we have like an hour until the actual sun sets, so it's going to be a hot second until we're actually able to shoot. But in the meantime, I can just kind of relax and drink my tea because it is actually quite cold. I am absolutely underdressed for this, but we can just chill, relax, and wait till the sun goes down and shoot some amazing landscape photography. Holy crap, it is so cold. Oh my gosh. My hands are like literally freezing. But yeah, I think we actually got some incredibly good images. I'm very happy with those photos. I mean, putting the Plena on my Z30 was actually incredible. I loved having that extra telephoto reach. And on top of it, image quality, I know for a fact is gonna be impeccable. So I'm super excited to actually go ahead and review these photos. But before we do, let's talk about our partners over at Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is our partner for today's episode, and you might know them from their owner, Ryan Reynolds, but let's just talk about how great their services are. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as little as $15 a month and doesn't sacrifice on speed, coverage, or data. And if you know me, you know that I love to save on camera gear, so why should your phone plan be any different? So click the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen if you're interested in the best deal in wireless. I have personally switched to Mint Mobile and definitely wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't like it. And even while here in Los Angeles National Forest, I've been able to keep my GPS running, listen to music, and check my notes while on shoot. And switching for me was extremely easy. I was able to use their eSIM cards and switch from the comfort of my own home and activate it immediately. But from now until the end of December, they have a limited time offer, where if you get 3 months of their service, you get another 3 months for free. So if you're interested in this insane offer, make sure to scan the QR code on screen or check the link in my description for more details. So thank you again to Mint for partnering with us in today's episode. So now let's get back to the studio and talk about the images from the Nikon Z135mm f1.8s Plena. Alright y'all, so we are now back in the studio and I desperately want to talk about this lens, the Plena. And there's a lot of things I want to be talking about that we didn't get a chance to talk about in the review. And one of those is panoramas. And in particular, I had the question of, okay, is 1.8 actually viable to shoot panoramas? Because what I found is that at 1.8, we don't get pretty much any vignetting at all, which is absolutely crazy for a lens like this. And as we can see here, it is absolutely tack sharp corner to corner. This image ended up clocking out at 58.9 megapixels from a Z6, which is quite good. It's insanely sharp. I mean, look at that. That's at f1.8, guys. Like, lenses don't do that. And granted, of course, everything is pretty far away. And obviously, we get zero weird diagonal lines. And I shot this in horizontal orientation and then went from top to bottom. So if there were these like dark lines, it would show up horizontally. We don't see that here. Amazing. I mean, that's incredible and unheard of. And there's a few benefits to this. One of them is that when we're shooting panoramas, right, we want to make sure we have a decent shutter speed. So we ensure that there's no motion blur or anything like that. But when it gets darker, we have to bump the ISO because we don't want to have our shutter speed too low. Here I shot it at 150th. This is another panorama. And I shot this at f3.5. I don't know why I didn't go to 1.8. I just kind of wanted to make sure that in case that we had an issue with 1.8, I had something. And this is clocking in at 84 megapixels, which is nuts. But this is a gorgeous image. Everything from the colors to just how the composition is framed, amazing. And I shot this past sunset actually, and we see that it is quite dark. And it's just so insanely sharp corner to corner. I mean, look at that. Gorgeous, beautiful. And shooting at ISO 100 is just so beneficial, especially for panoramas. And with a Z6, you're just gonna get such amazing clean images out of it. I really think that this lens is amazing for panoramas. Honestly, I think it's better for panoramas than something like a 24-200, just because of the fact that f1.8 is so clean. If I'm shooting with my 24-200 and I'm at 6.3, those diagonals come up. But we do not get that here, which is insane. And I think another major aspect about this lens that I loved in shooting at this shoot was just the focal length itself. I switched between my Z30 and my Z6 a lot because with the Z30, we're able to get around a 200mm lens. And right here, it's a 135. And I've actually found that both of those focal lengths are really incredible for landscape photography. And this is another image from the Z6. And one thing I really wanted to highlight was kind of these like light beams coming through. I didn't show this in my actual shoot, but this is one of the images I took when I was scouting around. And I mean, just look at this. I mean, so beautiful, so tack sharp. I mean, and even in this scenario, we're getting a lot of atmospheric conditions. So that would definitely affect the sharpness in terms of how clean the images are. And we're just getting incredible levels of sharpness, just unbelievable stuff. And in this shoot, I decided to shoot most of the images at f8. The reasoning why is I want to see what that looks like relative to 1.8. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, if we're at a far distance away, I really can't tell the difference between an f1.8 and an f8. And I also got some Z30 photos, mainly because I want to showcase what the difference is in focal length between a Z30 and a Z6, with the Plena at least. So here we have a Z30 image. This is, again, I kind of took it a little bit earlier in the day. Love this image, by the way. Even though it's not even close to sunset, I think we just got amazing colors. The light shining through is amazing. Gets such nice detail. And even with the Z30, I mean, we're still coming out with fairly clean images. One thing that I did notice, though, is that even at ISO 100, which this is at, we are seeing some noise, and I think that's just part of the APS-C size sensor. And honestly, it's okay. It's not crazy. You really have to pixel peep to see it, but it's definitely not as clean relative to a Z6, which is definitely another interesting thing to note. Because if you are using a Z30 and you have the Plena on there, it does get that 200mm focal length, but does it make sense to take away a little more dynamic range, a little bit more clean images? Like, does that make sense? And that's something that I think you'll have to figure out. But here we get a beautiful 200mm image, and we get some really nice compression here. I like the 200mm focal length a lot. It isn't a focal length that I would shoot at all the time, but it definitely helps you capture a different, unique perspective. And I mean, even something like this, where again, I'm really highlighting a lot of the textures in the landscape itself, I mean, just look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous. And as we move on to this one, this is with the Z30 again, but we're really able to isolate this tree. And I actually try to take an image like this where it's just kind of like a silhouette, and then we get the nice, you know, skyline in the background. And I mean, look at that. It's so incredibly sharp. Like, you zoom in, and the reason you can't zoom in more isn't because of the lens, it's because it's just not enough megapixels. I mean, look at how tack sharp that is, like corner to corner, gorgeous. And I mean, the colors are amazing. I mean, take a look at this, zero vignetting at all. And I really think the focal length is so incredible. Like, even if you just had the Plena, you could totally just use this instead of having to use a zoom like a 24-200. I mean, of course, balancing on the tripod was a little more difficult than something like a 24-200, but honestly, we were able to capture really fantastic images. I'm so happy with a lot of these. I really think where this lens will excel at, to be quite honest with you, it's very niche, but I do think panoramas is really where the Plena excels at. Yeah, those are kind of my thoughts and opinions on actually reviewing these images post-shoot. Let me know if you guys like this format of me just going out and shooting, and rather than me actually talking during the shoot, I just want to go back and review the images after the fact so I can give you guys a more, let's just say a better idea, understanding of how I perceive the images. So let me know what you guys think of this format down in the comment section down below, and let me know your thoughts on the Plena. How did it do for this landscape shoot? I mean, I'm really happy with these images here. My favorite images are most likely, honestly, I'm such a fan of this one from the Z30. So good. I mean, just such a different composition. This panorama is insane. I mean, this is, again, like one of the best panoramas I've ever taken. And I really like this image a lot. Really showcases what the Z30 can do with this lens. So yeah, guys, anyways, thank you so much for experiencing the world with me today. Please feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, and yeah, catch you guys in the next one.